What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Scott Kumler, and this is the podcast where we sit down with agents who are winning in today's market by doing things the right way, not the easy way. Today's guest is someone you need to pay attention to if you're even thinking about using social media to grow your real estate business. I'm joined by Jordan Brown, one of the top 2% of real estate agents in the Austin, Texas market. Jordan didn't build his business off paid ads or buying leads. He built it through organic social media, specifically YouTube and TikTok, by consistently educating, documenting, and showing up as a local expert. In this episode, we break down how Jordan uses YouTube to attract high intent buyers and sellers, how TikTok creates daily inbound conversations, what content actually converts, not just to get views, and how agents can start building a real business with organic content, even with a small following. If you're an agent who wants predictable business without constantly paying for leads, this episode will change how you think about content. And as always, if this conversation sparks something and you want to explore what a partnership with me and my organization looks like, feel free to call or text me at 623-387-2688 or schedule a Zoom meeting with my calendar link below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more interviews with agents who actually execute at a high level. All right, let's jump in. Here's my interview, Jordan Brown. What's up, guys? Scott Kumler. Welcome to another amazing podcast where I'm interviewing another amazing rock star real estate agent. And today I have a special guest, Jordan Brown from Austin, Texas today. Jordan, welcome to the podcast.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me, Scott. I'm excited to get to talk with you, and it was so great getting to finally meet you in person at EXPCon. You know, with our setup, you see everyone online and on Zoom calls, and it's always good to meet everyone in person.
Yeah, it's always amazing. You never know what someone's gonna, especially being on Zoom, you don't see what they really look like until you get them in person. You're like, oh, you're either taller or shorter than what I was expecting. So, but yeah, so before we kind of get some of the tactical stuff and what you've done in real estate to create such amazing success for yourself, I always like to kind of get into the beginning stages of what you did before real estate and then what made you decide to choose real estate as your career path.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was the plan B for so many of us. No one ever like goes to school and is like, I want to be a realtor, and that's no different with me. I was raised very traditional, where the thought was you're going to go to college for 4 years at least, and then you're going to go get a job. You're going to work there for 40 years, and then you're going to retire and die. And that sounded really boring to me. I took As I came into high school, got very, I wouldn't say rebellious, but John Michael and I, who's my business partner, he and I were in a metal band together. I decided that that's what I was going to do, and I was going to be a rock star. I was going to tour around the world. Uh, I did that for quite a while until 2015. And that's why it took me 5 years to get a 2-year degree at my community college, because I thought I was going to play rock star. But then after that, like I was engaged to my now wife, who I knew that I couldn't look her father in the eye and tell him I was going to be a bassist in a rock band for forever. And so knowing that I was going to provide and that was my thing, I switched over into the corporate sales world. I moved out here to Austin in 2015. I started working at a very prominent telecom company where I lost my soul and knew I couldn't do that for forever. And the pandemic was really the cherry on top for me, because I already knew that I didn't like it. I wasn't feeling appreciated, even though I was getting promotion after promotion, and the path was there for me to go through the corporate ladder. It's not for a lack of producing. I pride myself that I give my all no matter what it is that I'm doing, even if I don't like it. But I knew I didn't want to be there long term. And then the pandemic just really, accentuated things where I'll never forget. I had to tell an employee about 2 weeks before COVID was like a real thing here in the States. He heard about it, and so he wanted to start wearing gloves and a mask. And corporate came in, saw he was doing that, and they made me like play the bad guy and tell him he couldn't do that because it wasn't part of our team uniform. It went all the way to arbitration, or to the union, just for them to say, "Hey, you can't do that." And the very next day, COVID was something, and all of a sudden everyone had to wear masks and gloves. And I was like, this is madness. This is insane. And so I remembered I've always had an inkling, and people had always kind of nudged me that I may have had a personality fit for real estate, for whatever that means, whatever it meant to them. They thought that I would do okay in real estate with people. And I've always been a person who prides myself on high service, no matter what industry I'm in. I always had, really high customer satisfaction rates. So maybe that was going to translate into real estate. Well, the pandemic had me kind of soul searching. And I remember a lot of people don't know this, but I was actually John Michael's, and I've already mentioned him twice in this podcast. He's going to hate that. I hate that it's going to go straight to his ego. But he and I did the band together, and he and I are best friends since high school. And I was his first client in his real estate venture. So he was 6 months in, had nothing going on, and asked to take me on a coffee date to practice his script practice with me, to pretend I was a client. And by the end of it, I went, oh, like I could own a home. That's crazy. But I remember reflecting while I was kind of soul searching of what I wanted to do, how awesome my home buying journey was for myself. And this is no slight to John. I say this all the time, and he would admit this himself. With me being his first client, he didn't really know what he was doing. And he would send me like the same amendment like 12 times because he forgot something. And I just remember thinking how impactful that was on my personal life to secure a property, and how much meaning was behind what he was doing, and thinking that I could possibly do that at a high level too. And so that's what the natural curiosity for me was, is to, okay, it's sales, right? Like anything that I've done, I've always done sales. But how can I retrieve a little bit of my soul back, right? Without it being this void of meaningless, phone upgrades and internet sales and all that. It just wasn't my thing. And so I really love what the allure that real estate had to make a positive impact in people's lives. That's really what drew me to it.
Nice, awesome. And one thing I'm gonna just mention, because I love what you said about John Michael practicing on you and it got you interested in buying a home. And like I know with our team, for example, like one of the things we always tell, especially with listing presentations, is I always tell our agents, hey, just practice with one of your friends or family. And you ask to say they're trying to help you, and but then sometimes people might sit there and say, hey, I think about buying a house or selling a house. It's such a genius. And then it's amazing how that transitioned to you buying your own first home, becoming his first
Yeah.
client and having that experience. So kind of take me through the beginning stage. So obviously you got your license now. You're jumping into real estate. What were those beginning moments like? What did you go after as far as like business in real estate? Like what type of lead generation activities did you do? Did you try? Is there anything you tried that you hated? Like what did the beginning moments look like for you?
No, great question. I mean, my first year, I'm not going to pretend that I had like a super stellar start in real estate. It was 2020, right? Or 2019, somewhere in the late 2019. And my first year, I only sold 3 homes.
Mhm.
And I was still working at this telecom company. And so I had another job. And the reason that I felt like I couldn't do it, and I think a lot of listeners may resonate with this, I had bills to pay.
Mhm.
And I don't know about you guys when you got into the industry, there was like an unspoken rule or a expectation that was set that you weren't going to get paid as a new agent for anywhere between 6 to 12 months.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, well, I've got bills to pay. I've got a wife, or my fiance that I need to provide for. I have a mortgage now. I've got to keep a roof over my head. I have car payments. So I had a responsibility that kept me from going all in.
Mhm.
And I think that's a catch 22. I wonder where my career would be if I was, put myself in a position to burn the boats, have no other option, have no safety net. Would I have performed better that first year, or would I have sank? Who knows? I like to think that I would have rose to the occasion,
Mhm.
but I played it safe. I kept I went from full-time management to part-time sales at this telecom company because I knew that I had a baseline that I needed to bring in order to put myself in a good position. And when I knew it was time to leave, was I would be on the sales floor making $10 to upgrade a phone,
Mhm.
and I would miss a $10,000 listing commission check because I missed the phone call. That's whenever I knew that my 9 to 5 was interfering with what I really wanted to do. That's when I made the jump. And so I went from 3 sales my first year to, I also think my environment was not very conducive for a first year agent. Unfortunately, the team that I was with didn't have, I think the world of this person. I still have a high respect for what she's done in her business, but I don't think she was ready to be a team leader, if that makes sense. And I was just in the position where I had an in with it and didn't know any different. And I thought I was so lucky to get onto into
Mhm.
this position because as a new agent, everything sounds good.
Mhm.
Everything anyone says, it all sounds good. But, it was a few weeks into it and I knew it wasn't going to be a permanent fit for me. But I stayed for a year because I'm a very loyal person and I wanted to make sure and exhaust every option that it wasn't me. So at the end of the year, I switched and went over to an independent brokerage here locally here in Austin, about 110 agents or so. And I actually had one of my best years ever. And I think that was not necessarily just because the brokerage did anything for me in particular. I think one, I went full time
Mhm.
and I started believing in myself, and all the things that I was doing year one started, the harvest, or the sowing. I was reaping what I was sowing, right? Like I was doing the work and just not getting the, anything to bite. But then continued efforts made it to where finally things were happening and I had a really good year. Um, and so then, I went from 3 homes to 16 homes that next year. And that was the belief system I need. I paid off my cars here at the house and I went full time. Like that was, and I never looked back. That's the cool part about it is I played it smart and it worked out. Some of that may have been divine timing. I don't know, but I also like to think my efforts played a part in that too.
Yeah, I love and I talk to a lot of agents who we're in the same boat where they are getting into real estate, but they have a full-time job because they're afraid of, of where their next commission check's going to come from or their next paycheck. And I guess it's definitely a hard thing. But, like my experience, at least in real estate, is that a lot of times if someone has a full-time job and they're doing real estate part-time, real estate becomes more of like a hobby, and their
Yeah.
full-time job is their first priority, and they have it to fall back on, so they don't typically have to go out there put the work in. But then their personal life, which is hanging out with their friends and family and stuff like that, is their second priority. And then real estate's like, if I have time, I'll do this, but we know
Yeah.
there's never kind of enough time. And so it's definitely a hard transition to make, going from a full-time employee to then a full-time real estate agent. I love the fact that you understood the statistics, because I think so many times people get into real estate and they don't have realistic expectations of what the statistics are, as far as, it takes 6 months for the average agent to sell the first home. If you really come out working hard, and grinding every single day, about 3 to 4 months to get your first paycheck. So it definitely could take some time to build up. When did you, so obviously we talked about, that transition, but when you decided to make that move, did you have like a savings, like nest, together that could pay a couple of, months of your bills, or what did that look like from a financial standpoint? Or do you just jump in and say, listen, it's all or nothing. I mean, you're going to sink or swim, and we're just going to go ahead and do it and go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a very analytical person. Like I looked at, if I went in on this thing with my whole heart, and I know that even then with all my effort it could still take 6 months to get paid, I wanted to be able to float 6 months of I had 6 months of reserves in my account where I said, okay, if I don't get something for 6 months, I'm going to be okay.
Mhm.
And that was how I chose to play it. There's other people who put themselves in the situation where I've got to rise to the top because I'm not going to give myself the comfort of having that. I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer on how to do it. It's different for everybody. But I do think you touched on something that's really worth noting. The kiss of death in real estate is treating it like it's a hobby.
Mhm.
This is, again, you can sell a few homes a year, make a little extra coin. But if you're trying to make this your career, if you're trying to make your living in real estate, it requires, in my opinion, your full attention and
Mhm.
it requires full effort. And if you are not tending to your real estate business because it's your part-time or your side gig or whatever, and you've got something else rolling, that's the wrong way to approach it. You're almost allowing yourself the excuse of why it's not going to work. Oh, well, this wasn't my main focus. So like, it's okay if I'm a failure in real estate. It wasn't really something I was serious about. You can't treat it that way. Real estate doesn't move forward unless you move it forward.
Mhm.
I was under the impression, or not me particularly, but I think when you start, any new agent has this fantasy that as soon as we get licensed, it's going to be like HGTV. All of our friends and family are going to come work with us. We're going to be just drowning in business.
Mhm.
And the harsh reality is that the average person knows 6 to 7 realtors.
Mhm.
So why would and that was one of my biggest obstacles whenever I started was the new everyone knew I was new,
Mhm.
right? That was the hard part for me. I remember my very first client was an old coworker of mine at that telecom company. And I went over and I had a listing presentation with him and his wife, and I crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing about me is I go in and I have like a delusional level of confidence where it doesn't matter if I'm brand new, I'm going to win this appointment. Like I'm so confident what I bring to the table. No one's going to outcare me. No one's going to out resource me if I'm given the opportunity. I left that and I called John and I said, dude, I crushed that appointment. Like there's no way I'm losing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then he calls me and he says, hey, Jordan, I just wanted to let you know, we're still going to use you to help buy our first home because we're getting a new build, but we're going to go with someone more experienced to sell our home. And the reason that particular phone call crushed me a little bit was he was actually signing me up to do the more difficult thing. This was the pandemic. There was no inventory available. So actually the easy part was listing his home, getting it sold over the weekend for 50K above asking price and patting yourself on the back as the realtor. The hard part was finding what new build opportunities weren't already taken that didn't have a list of 100 people trying to sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
There were no like in-person appointments without like an online or a phone call reservation. You couldn't just walk into a builder and ask questions. It was the Wild West.
Mm-hmm.
And so it hurt me because the newness in his mind was going to be the reason I couldn't sell his home, but he was signing me up to do the more difficult thing. And so that was a big lesson for me.
Mm-hmm.
He knew that I didn't have any experience and I was not entitled to his business. I didn't earn that from him yet.
Mm. Yeah, it's it's. But I mean, there's a way. Like at least in my mindset. I mean, a lot of times I feel like agents sometimes get that newness in their head too much, and I think sometimes that comes across obviously to like people they talk to and stuff like that. And it's definitely a catch-22, especially when you first get in real estate. So now obviously you talked a little.
Someone has to give you a chance. That's like at the end of the day, someone is going to give you a chance.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest thing was he still let me help him buy.
Mhm.
Right? My first client, we got it done. Like, thank God, but we got it done. And that was my proof of concept. It was, hey, you gave me this really difficult part of this. Like, despite what you think is the hard part, you gave me the more difficult aspect of helping you, and I did it. And then when I did get my first listing, it was another friend. A lot of times I think people underestimate that in real estate, the person who's going to give you your break and your first chance is probably going to be someone you already know.
Mhm.
It's going to be a friend. It's going to be an old coworker. It's going to be a family member. And that's where the belief system starts.
Mhm.
Because when you're new, you're at the pinnacle of not knowing everything.
Mhm.
You'll never not know as much as when you start.
Mhm.
And so then you just start getting little building blocks of confidence. And that's what really helped me to then now, like, I'm getting clients on YouTube who are actually coming to me because I talk so well about what I'm doing. I
Mhm.
believe in everything that I'm doing because but that doesn't happen if someone doesn't give me a chance.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. My mentor, who Joshua Smith, who I've been with in real estate for the longest time, he actually used to always have a great script as a new agent. He actually used a new agent script for about 2 years, basically where he said that he's newer to the industry, but the good news is he has no clients, so he's going to work so hard for him. He's going to be waiting for his phone to ring anytime they needed help. That they would actually get tired of him. So he always
Yep.
had an amazing script when it comes to that. So let's get into kind of like, so obviously you went from 3 transactions to, I think you said 19 transactions your first full year
Yeah.
in real estate. So I know you do a lot with organic social media now. Have you always done organic social media? Is that kind of like been your big lead generation source, or did you try other things when you first got into real estate?
I mean, it wasn't always that way where I tried it. Like even whenever I was at my first company and with, not great mentorship there, no one was telling me to be on YouTube.
Mhm.
But I saw some value in that. Even before I knew people like Suman Kim and Mike Sherrard, there was an allure to it, right? I saw other people walking homes. Again, this was the middle of the pandemic. So I would post a really crappy walkthrough video of me. I'm a lot more professional now, but I used to have hair down to here. I would wear my beanie during my walkthroughs and I didn't have a mic. I didn't have anything. And I would do those videos and they would get 5,000 views on it. And I'm like, oh, this is incredible. The problem was I wasn't converting.
Mhm.
And that's the lesson that I didn't learn until I came over to where we're at now was there's a science, there's a, a psychology behind video, and that's what I was missing. So I was getting views. In fact, I was getting probably 20x the views that I'm getting now because Austin's no longer the hotbed, right? There's not as many people moving here as there was during the pandemic. And so I can't help but think of how much missed opportunity me doing the right, being on the right medium, which was YouTube, but not having the right training might have cost me. Um, and that's, I think there's a, if I reflect on it too much, I'll make myself sad. But but yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be doing it now. Like this year, Austin has gone through another terrible, I mean, by most people's metrics, a terrible year for real estate. We've been on a downward slide. We're the number one buyer's market in all of the US, statistically speaking. And the way that the difference between me sitting here going, man, I had a rough year, to saying I actually had a really good year, is social media marketing.
Uh-huh.
That's it. Like the last handful of my clients, I would say the last 7 of my really quality people have come from social media, who didn't know me before watching a video that I'm in.
Yeah, I think because isn't like Austin market kind of like the Phoenix market where didn't you guys go through a big boom in during COVID where it's like you had this big balloon type thing and then all of a sudden obviously kind of like Phoenix market we had prices skyrocket up during those times because everyone was moving to Phoenix and then
Yeah,
when the market transitions a little bit you have the biggest slide as well too so
we've
yep.
been on a hell of a roller coaster. I'm talking between 2020 to Q1 of 2022, just catastrophic increases in price values.
Mhm.
Like it was unheard of. And a lot of locals got priced out. We had a lot of people from, a lot of pandemic was like politic moving, where people were moving from whatever state to escape whatever.
Mhm.
And a lot of those people came to Texas, whether it was Colorado, New York, California. Lots of people transplanted here to Austin, Texas, thinking it was going to be like the mini California of Texas. And whether there's any shred of truth to that or not, it ended up being this thing where you saw the crazy. I mean, I'm just talking like the trajectory for pricing was unsustainable. And now, after Q2 of 2022, when rates hit 8%, right? It was the first time in history, in recorded history, that interest rates doubled within a 12-month span. First time in history. That kills buyer demand.
Mhm.
And we saw it firsthand, and we're still seeing it. So we've come down quite a bit in value, and we went from the number one sellers market to the number one buyers market within a 5-year span. So that's a little bit about what Austin's going through right now.
Yeah. So with YouTube, obviously you were talking a little about your YouTube channel. Do what kind of like videos were you doing? Like, so you mentioned property tours. Were you doing like other things as far as like sometimes I see on like some YouTube channels where it's like top 5 reasons to move to this city or something like that, or would you just
Yeah.
do you just stick strictly to like property tours?
I'll say this, property tours were the alluring thing because it's easy.
Mhm.
I can record a 30-second intro, and then you'll never see me again. And then, hey, let's go check out this model home.
Mhm.
That's the easy work. The problem is you're missing a connection piece in most of those, or at least I was. I don't want to project on anybody who's doing their YouTube journey. But for me, I was something was missing. And I think it was me. Like I'm missing. It was no one understands why they connect with me, or I'm not understanding why my audience isn't reaching out to me. So for the first few years, that's all I did was property tours, because it was the easy thing that I knew I could go do. It was so easy to edit and upload. And then something changed, right? I came over here and I went to a training called Build, which was before I was actually part of the Wolfpack at EXP. And Mike led a training there where he was talking about opinion pieces, the like you said, the pros and cons of living in blank, right? Or top 3 reasons to move to blank or to not move to. And I call so I don't know if he terms them, but I call them opinion pieces. It's me talking at length about why I believe certain things, certain stances. When I started doing those, something changed. It was the person felt like by the end of the video, they knew, liked, and trusted me.
Mhm.
And so you don't get a lot of that with home tours. I think you can. I think there's ways to do it. I wasn't doing it. And these opinion pieces where it's just talking heads, me, it's literally me in this office right here, sitting down and talking to you, the person who's looking at moving to Leander, Texas in 2025, and telling you my honest five truths or five pros and honest five cons. As someone who lives here every single day, here's why I would or wouldn't do this. And those videos have converted so much higher for me. So
Mhm.
that was the secret sauce, was not just, and don't get me wrong, I still get leads every now and then for my property tours. But the market being where it's at demanded that I shift my content.
Mhm.
I think if you're relying solely on property tours in Austin, Texas right now, for example, you're limiting your reach because not as many people are looking for that information.
Mhm.
But there are people looking at moving here all the time, not necessarily looking at buying a model home or a new build. So I wanted to broaden up my audience, make them feel like they got to know me a little bit. And the great thing about those are the warmest leads you'll ever get. It by the time I don't know anyone, like this is the best part for someone like me who is afraid of rejection and judgment. These people who don't jive with me, I don't know about them.
Mhm.
They don't call me. It's all good. But the people who do call me already know, like, and trust me. They feel like they know me because they saw me talk at length about something and know my energy. I'm super authentic on my videos so that by the time you call me, you're going, man, he's just like his videos.
Mhm. Yeah, and I love because I had a mentor at one point tell me, especially when it comes to YouTube, that like the goal is to give people information that they can't find on your Zillow's, Realtor.com, stuff like that. And you find a lot of video tours and you see pictures, stuff like that, but you can't find top five reasons why you shouldn't live in this city or top five reasons why you should, and then you become kind of like an authority figure as well too. Is now people trust you because you're giving your honest feedback, and that's what people want. They want honesty, they want transparency, and they want to know they can trust you. And when you do that from like an authority standpoint, it definitely helps. So besides YouTube, have there been any other main social media like lead sources that you've gotten business from? Like what would be like kind of like your next best social media
Yeah.
platform?
For me, TikTok. I hate even like bringing it up because I know TikTok's kind of controversial for some people, but when I look at short form content, this is the trend that I recognized. I feel like the videos I was putting out stopped reaching the audience I was intending to on Instagram. And I don't know if it's an algorithm thing, but I feel like anything I put on Instagram is basically just being liked and consumed by other realtors.
Mhm.
So I'm not finding buyers necessarily on Instagram. So I thought if I'm going to bother making short form content, I need to just change the platform that it's on.
Mhm.
And don't get me wrong, Instagram as an agent focused medium is important to me too. That's part of my plan. Most of what I put out now on Instagram is aimed at agents. It's no longer me trying to chase these leads that, and there's people that will tell you. There's Angie Foster, who she's built her business on Instagram. There's a lot of people who have. It's just it didn't work that way for me.
Mhm.
And so I switched to TikTok. And the similar situation, the allure was here's me walking through, like here's a really nice pretty kitchen, right? Like POV, you're in your dream kitchen. Like I thought that content was going to do something for me, and it didn't. I just noticed that everyone was doing it. Because TikTok has a way of learning who you are and what you're doing and what you're interested in. And so I would be scrolling and I'd see some person that I'm not following who's another realtor doing a very similar style video. I'm like, dang, well, I don't want to just do what everyone's doing. How do I stand out? And so this year was the first time I started doing talking head videos where I started talking about um, new developments going on in my city, in my area, the North Austin suburbs. Now, here's kind of a cheat code for this.
Mhm.
The thing that I run into is it's not that I won't do the work. I hate doing research.
Mhm.
I hate trying to figure out what I'm going to talk about.
Mhm.
And so to remove that obstacle, I brought in my good friend ChatGPT
Mhm.
and I created a task. I actually have a prompt that I typed where every single morning at 9 a.m. it delivers me at least 3 articles of something going on here in the area, whether it's a something with rates, whether it's a new community that's coming through, whether it's a new commercial development. It puts it in front of me every single morning. And I asked it to break down. So it provides the article for source material. So if I want to go through and double check something, I can. Or if I want to pull a screen grab from it so that people can see I know what I'm talking about because this is the article I'm referring to. And then it breaks it down for me into the key points.
Hmm.
Like it makes it to where all in one little screen, I can see what the article is, the headline, the main points, and then to take it a little step further, I have it made it make a TikTok script for me. So if I wanted to, I could just every morning, I have 3 videos ready to go, essentially ready to record. Now, I'm a little more hands on than that. I look at the script and I go, okay, maybe that doesn't sound 100% like me. I'm going to change some things. But those videos, I had one, most of my videos, whenever I was doing property tours, would get like 70 views,
Mhm.
like 70, less than 100. And I had one that changed my entire like belief system and what could happen.
Mhm.
I did one on Nebraska Furniture Mart, which is opening up in a nearby city called Cedar Park. And that's a huge deal. And so all I did was put, hey, I did an intro that tries to grab the audience attention, which very simple for me. I just say, hey, Cedar Park, did you see this? But like, so I'm already identifying. So if you're in Cedar Park, or if you know what Cedar Park is, you're going to stop and go, hey, he's talking to me.
Mhm.
And then I'm talking about this massive development back here. I'm giving you some of the details, which are all in the article. I didn't research this stuff. But then I'm saying, what do you think about this? As someone who's local, here's my opinion, but what do you think? And that got so much engagement. And all of a sudden I had a video that had, 180,000 views. To go from 70 to that. And then people contact me from that video to buy or sell their home.
Mhm.
And again, I think it just has to do with you're talking at length about something.
Mhm.
I think that's where the connection piece for a lot of people comes into play, or maybe what you're missing in your content. Maybe you feel like you're putting out stuff that's valuable, but you're not connecting with your audience. And if you don't connect with it, they're going to take the information and go use it with someone who they do connect with.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely, it's so crazy because I think so many agents like overthink it, like they overthink the scripting, they overthink what they're gonna say, and you just broke it down into simple steps where, at the end of the day, it's not that hard. You use ChatGPT. I mean, and I know, you probably heard this before, just like I've heard a lot of people say this. Obviously AI is not going to replace real estate agents, but real estate agents who use AI will replace real estate agents who don't. And so it could be so simple and make your life so efficient. And I've definitely been very involved in ChatGPT a lot recently, and it's made my life a lot easier as well too.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it and I was spending, the reason I got away from the home tour videos was for short form content was I was spending, I think about it. I would travel 30 minutes to the community. I'm filming there for probably 45 minutes. I'm traveling back and now I got to edit the thing. So by the time I'm posting this TikTok that's going to get 70 views, I'm like 3 or 4 hours deep into the commitment at this point. And so instead, why don't I just remove the obstacle? I'll come into my office, which I'm already home. I'll
Mm,
hit record. It'll take me 5 minutes to do and post, and boom. Like you want to talk about sustainability in your business? I'll get burnt out making 4 hour commitments to videos that don't produce me anything.
mm,
But the fact that I can just whip out my phone, already have my articles and source material ready to go, and I can do that in 5 minutes
mm.
and get leads from it, that's what I'm going to choose to do every time.
Nice, nice. I did want to ask you too, and I'm always kind of interested in this question. So obviously you've been doing social media and you talk a lot about your YouTube videos and you know like how you used to do them versus how you do them today and how you have a lot better success with them. If you could name like your one biggest mistake that you made when it comes, it could be YouTube, Instagram, it could be any of those. One mistake that you made as a newer agent with social media that you wish you would have known then that you know now. What would that be?
Man, I mean, I'm sure there's something I could go on for days about different things that I've learned. I think the biggest takeaway for me, and this is a realization I had to come to, is that one, good things take time.
Mm,
Sometimes like for it to produce leads. I didn't miss a single week for 16 months straight
mm,
without posting a video. And if I would have stopped 6 months into it, I wouldn't have the leads that I have today.
mm.
I would have gotten discouraged and I would have restarted whatever cycle I was in. Like that's what a lot of people do. And Mike said this at one of his trainings with us here recently is people get really excited. They try something, there's not immediate payoff, so their enthusiasm goes down. And then you do one of two things. You either stick it out and you go on the other side of it and you start getting results, or on the way down, you get discouraged and you go, you know what, this doesn't work. Now I'm going to restart at step one.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was big for me. Another thing is I'm not the main character in everyone's story.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big thing for me. Like I look at content as if I'm not making anything super interesting, I can't get mad if it doesn't perform the way that I hope it does.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm a consumer of content as well. I'm on social media. There's people posting about their kids' graduation or this or that. Like there's endless amounts of stuff that we just mindlessly scroll past because it's not relevant to us. And we think in real estate that everything we post is super relevant to everybody. And that's why I think you have to define who your audience is when you're making content. You can't just post something for the hell of posting it. You have to say, what problem am I addressing? Who do I hope hears this? And understand that if I'm trying to talk to everybody, I'm actually talking to nobody.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. Now I kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit here because obviously both of us are within the same organization over at EXP. We're both part of the Wolfpack. And I'm always kind of curious because, me personally, I moved over May 1st, so I'm fairly newer to the Wolfpack, newer to EXP. And I know why I made the change at the time to move over to EXP, but I'm always curious on other people's journeys and what made them decide to move over. What were maybe some of the pain points that they're getting with the previous brokerage? So, what did that look like from a reflection standpoint of why you decided to leave your previous brokerage to move over to EXP? And more importantly, why did you choose to join the Wolfpack within EXP?
No, great question. And I think a lot of people will hopefully relate to this story. So I was what I would consider a never EXP guy.
Mhm.
Before I came over here, you name it, I thought it.
Mhm.
Pyramid scheme, no one produces. Everyone's just in it for themselves. I really thought that, like to the point where if I saw that you were an EXP agent on and you were like responding to a Facebook comment or something, I just immediately discounted whatever you said because I was like, you don't produce anything. So why would I care what you have to say? Very toxic way of running your, but that's what was beaten into me. It like that was the no matter who I talked to, everyone was just like, ew, EXP, so like that's what I adopted. And so when I was at my independent brokerage and had a really good year, my second year in the industry, we were doing things like I was being asked to essentially like run trainings. And I'm like, I don't really feel like I was ever properly trained.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like I really know what I'm like, who am I to be talking about this stuff? And that kind of had like an epiphany moment for me where I said, man, if I'm at near the top, if I'm already reaching like the top of where I'm going, if I'm the biggest fish in my pond, I need a bigger pond.
Mhm.
And so John and I had a podcast at the time called the Real Estate Virgins podcast. And the whole point was we would interview top producers from around our area and ask them what was working for them. It was brokerage agnostic, but we just wanted to help new agents learn.
Mhm.
And we got an opportunity to interview Suman Kim, who in 2024 was the number one Texas agent, number two out of all of EXP.
Mhm.
And so that was out of 87,000 agents. And that was a big deal for us because I'm like, I knew Suman from YouTube. That's what's funny is before I kind of, I hope he never hears this. I like kind of fangirled one time because he showed one of my listings.
No.
And I was like, oh my God, this is like the Suman Kim. And going into that interview, I thought, okay, he's going to try to, like, he's an EXP guy. He's 100% going to try to pitch us on something. Like, just wait for it. And
Mhm.
John and I had our guard up, and um, he was so gracious with his time, like, as a top producer who didn't owe us this interview
Mhm.
and shared so much wisdom. I mean, you want to talk about a guy like I'm so fond of that memory because it was so powerful. And Suman didn't immediately try to pitch us on anything. And that threw my mind into a spiral. And I was like, what's wrong with us? Does he not want to like pitch us? Like what's and what was cool about it is after the fact, he reached out and said, hey, like if you love where you're at, all good, but like I see something in you and like John and you And if you're open to just hearing what I have to say, like at the end of the day, I'll just buy you coffee. And if it's there's nothing here worth exploring, all good. And the meeting was so focused on what he could do for us.
Mm-hmm.
Had nothing to do with what he was going to gain. And that changed everything for me. That moment changed. Okay, this guy is telling me that he sees what our passion for this with our podcast and what we're doing at our current brokerage that we're doing for free. And we care so much. And like we did this stuff out of love, but like now, like there's a way for us to make this a business.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to talk about like, you can love what you're doing, but if you're not making money off it, like at the end of the day, if there's an opportunity to, I want to explore it. And so now we're doing very, very similar things. It's what I imagined we could have done at any other brokerage, but we were doing it for free and we were being looked at as like it was all on us. And now with the Wolfpack, we've got insane resources. I look at the fact that my value proposition becomes everything that you're going to get with the Wolfpack, the Social Agent Academy, all the online modules that we have, the weekly calls that are put on. That now becomes part of my value proposition to help other agents. And we've added our own flair to it too. We have our own online courses that we filled in some gaps for some of our agents. The fact that I have that ability, it puts my business in such a different place. Mm-hmm. And I get to collaborate with people I couldn't have dreamed of at other brokerages. Yeah. The fact that you mentioned Josh Smith, I've co-sponsored agents with Josh Smith since he's over here. Mm-hmm. And I have a gal who messages me every other week. And that's going to sound like an exaggeration. I promise it's not. Mm-hmm. Every other week, she texts me and says, Jordan, I'm so thankful that you saw the opportunity to not just take me on just from yourself, but a need in my business and brought in someone who fills a gap for me. Mm-hmm. And so now she's getting to partner with us and get everything that we have locally. But then she gets to partner with Josh Smith and get his tools, his system. That's a 9-year agent telling me that she has more clarity in her business now than she's ever had. And those kind of opportunities are exciting.
Yeah, it's super cool because it really isn't like a win-all model, right? I mean, everyone wins from everyone else's success. I was talking to, some agent, even just like from an equity ownership standpoint. I mean, the better the company does, the better everyone else does as well, too.
Oh, yeah. Not to even mention like all the extra money I've made this year from agent attraction and just being a good partner to my agents. Mm-hmm. Like I've made an additional, like I'd have to look at it, but it's going to be somewhere around like 60 grand this year. And you want to talk about the difference in a lot of people's assessment of what their year has looked like. 60 grand can make a big difference. And that's allowed so much freedom. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me. And it's not just for me. I hear it from my partners too. That was the biggest thing. When I heard one of my partners, Emily Shelton, who came over here, was a top producer, top trainer, whatever at her last brokerage. And she comes over here just because rev share was something that she had kind of been interested in, didn't really understand it, but she just was like, can it pay for my kids' private school? And she's gotten so much more. She hit Icon her first year. She got her $16,000 cap back in company stock. She's going to make like 90 grand more this year for being with us than she would have been at her last brokerage. And the thing I try to tell people is, especially if you have no cap, no resources, no tools, no community, like how would an instant, if you're a producer, how would an instant $16,000 raise do for you? If you don't even get into agent attraction, like that, even just that by itself, that being able to get your cap back is a game changer. There's so many things that I love and appreciate about what EXP is doing. And the fact that the Wolfpack provides the most value driven proposition in the entire company, in my humble opinion, it makes it a no-brainer. And then you just pair that with the fact that we can co-sponsor with other people and make some magic happen. I wish I would have came here year one.
Yeah, it's our fearless leader Mike Sherrard has said this multiple times. The most expensive thing you can own is a closed mind. And kind of like you mentioned. I mean, you wish you had made the move over here a lot sooner. Because you probably would be a lot further even ahead than where you currently are. And I feel the same way too. But just kind of even a quick story from my standpoint. When I first got into real estate as a brand new real estate agent, I interviewed like 8 different brokerages to join, and I had no intention of joining a team or anything like that. I always looked at myself as a team leader, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get a video text message from some guy that says, "Hey, you should, I'd love to talk to you about joining us, blah blah blah, and all that good stuff." And I had no intention of going on the appointment, but I'm like, you know what? He sent me a video text. It's kind of like weird. I'm like, but I'll go ahead and go see what they're about, and everything like that. And I thought for sure going into the interview process, the brokerage I thought I was going to join ended up being the brokerage I thought the least of after the interview process. Whereas the brokerage that I ended up joining was the guy who sent that video text message. However, that brokerage ended up not being a brokerage at all. I thought it was a brokerage. Turned out I was actually joining a team, and it was actually Joshua Smith's team. When I first got in real estate, I had no idea, but it's had the hugest impact in my career. I know he's had a lot of, you talked a little about him, already as well too. And if I would have had a closed mind and I'm like, oh, I don't want to join a team, I probably wouldn't even take an interview if I knew they were a team. But luckily, I was too dumb not to know that they were a team. And accidentally, I remember going home to my family and saying, "Hey, I joined a brokerage. They're called Revisto Real Estate." And that was his team name at the time, Revisto. And so it's definitely important. And it's important to have those conversations because you just never know what you might be missing out on.
Yeah, I mean another thing, just a real quick story. When John and I were considering opening up our own brokerage.
Mhm.
Like that's how the allure of it was. You're going to make monthly desk fees. You're going to get splits off your agents. You're going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, then we talked to, man, I can't remember his name, but he was the number one independent brokerage owner in America
Mm.
at one point in time. Thousands of agents, and we got to talk with him about what that was like. And he said, man, between the liability, the accounting, the marketing, the training, the retention, he's like, it's less appealing than you would think. And it's actually a lot more expensive than you think. And unfortunately, I talk to a lot of independent broker owners right now who are struggling and would have really benefited from this model that we have. And when I was at Build back in right before we joined, right, Suman paid for our tickets and said, "Come meet Mike, come see what we're about." It was like we were curious, but we weren't bought in yet. And John and I were like, all right, we're gonna go in super, guarded still. We're gonna have our walls up. Let's just go see what it's about. And we were really intentional with that visit because we would be walking or going up an elevator or whatever, and we would just ask someone that we saw with their, EXP, tag on,
Mhm.
say, hey, be so on, like, I know you don't know me, but be so honest. Was it like working? Like, are you happy being at EXP?
Mhm.
And so many people did the exact same thing. I kid you not. They got their phone and they go like this and they show us their revenue share and they go, this is how I'm doing blank. This is how I'm putting my kids through college.
Mhm.
This is how I retired my parents. This is how I bought my dream car.
Mhm.
Like there was so much to it where it was almost undeniable. One is like a coincidence. Two is no accident.
Mhm.
And it's from there it was like, okay, like it must be us. We're misunderstanding the opportunity that's in front of us.
Yeah.
So that was our big kind of aha moment as to why we need to take this more seriously and be more open-minded to a conversation.
Nice, nice. Awesome. Well, Jordan, I definitely appreciate you coming on today. Final words. If anyone is watching this podcast and they want to learn what a partnership with you looks like, or what type of coaching mentorship you offer as well too, what's the best way for an agent to get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Instagram at Jordan Sells ATX is I think my handle for most social media platforms. We have an online community called the Agent Protocol. We have a free version that's available to every single person that's listening to this. If you want to come see just a taste of what we have to offer, we do some live coaching calls. We have online modules, and we'd love to have you. But yeah, I mean, if you want to take it a step further and you want to have a conversation, I've got a link that I can shoot you over. If you want to hop on a call, I'd love to talk co-sponsorship here with Scott. So Believe me, I was the skeptic. I hope I've made that point very clear. I was a never EXP guy. And I'm sitting here on the inside of it saying, man, it's everything and more that I could have hoped that it would have delivered on.
Nice, nice, awesome. And just so you guys know, I am going to put his links down below in the description here. So don't be afraid to click on the links and connect Jordan. I'm also going to put a link below for my own personal Calendly Zoom link as well too. If you want to schedule a meeting with me, kind of see what a partnership looks like. Again, make sure you let me know that you saw me on this video with Jordan here, because there's definitely ways that we can structure it from a co-sponsorship standpoint, so you guys get to take advantage of us and everything we provide, and also get to take advantage of Jordan and everything he provides as well too. So, Jordan, definitely appreciate hopping on today, man. I hope you all having an amazing, amazing day.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.